I think we might be live. At least that's what the button in front of me is telling me. Across my nose. How's it going, folks? Can you guys hear me? There's probably going to be a bit of a lag, as always. Let us know in the chat section below if you can. There's a leaf. Thank you very much. You can see me, Bianca, on screen?
I can see you now.
Thank you. That button works. Good to hear. Good to hear. So, another live stream. I'm just going to chat a little bit and scroll up the feed just until people get in here. Thanks, John. And say, g'day, Owen. How's it going, mate? I'm going to check out the sand bed soon. Christian, how's it going? John, hello again. Kayleen, thanks for that, Kayleen. We'll be taking questions from the chat section here after I run through some from the comment sections under videos that I've taken off over the last week. Good morning from Western Australia. Hi, Ange. How are you? It's 5:30 p.m. here in California. Yeah, this is pretty much all the time I like to do on my supporter hangouts as well. It just means that the folks over there, you know, they can sit back and relax or whatever after a hard day's work rather than trying to knock off work early to see these sort of things. And my chat isn't moving. East coast of Australia, inland Cootamundra, sorry. New South Wales, hot in summer, cold in winter, challenging. I can see where that would be, and pretty dry out there as well. I would take it. Alchemy AU, hello yet again. A Scottish Wildman, how's it going? Good, thanks, mate. How am I? From Owen, I'm relatively well, thanks. Just to warn you guys, Bianca probably won't be on mic today. Our number one daughter has decided to give her, she works at a stupid market and was exposed to a nice little head cold and decided to give it to Bianca when we were around there the other day. So Bianca's basically, you can't hear her talk. You might be able to hear her croak in the background. And yes, she's had, you know, tests have been done. Everything's okay. So. What was that?
I haven't looked at Alchemy.
Alchemy. My chat's a little bit slow compared. Bianca told me to say read Alchemies. G'day, Indigo Doggo. How's it going? Chat often on different clips and stuff. Gideon. G'day, Gideon. You've become a regular as well. John Cox, maybe a bit early for questions, but have you heard of people using? Yeah, we'll be getting into that. I can answer that a bit later, John. G'day, Warren. Alchemy 3, feel like I should be having a beer seated across from someone with a beard that ZZ Top would be jealous of. That's what Bianca just croaked at me before. Yeah, a little bit early for that, but give it an hour and a half and it's past midday. G'day, Jennifer, Northern California. Hiya, B. Oh, you've seen that? Yep. Morning, Brian. How's it going, mate? I hope you're going to be looking after that piggy today. Might be the coof. No, it's not the coof. Hello, Mr. Rob. How's it going, mate? Rob from Bigelow Brook Farm. After this live stream, go over and check out his channel. Very informative on aquaponics. He takes a little bit more of a professional commercial take on the system than I do because I prefer to help backyarders out. So definitely go over and check out Rob's channel. We might work out something down the line to do together. We'll wait and see. And Owen, good, thank you. Big Flav away. How? Big Wave Flav. Flay. Jeez. Dyslexia, sorry. Long time subscriber. Yeah, mate, we've chatted many, many times in the comment section. Hope's all well with you down in Florida. And Brian's just said they got some funny wet stuff falling from the sky. So there you go. Good to get indoors and do a little bit of dressing up then. Of animals, that is. Whatever turns you on, I suppose. Anyway, I suppose we should get into a couple of questions. And B will give me a heads up if anything pops up in the chat. And, yeah. I'm going through a couple. I've listed 3 sections at the moment. I've got fish, media grow beds, and then plumbing and build orientated. So we'll see how many of these we can get through. Depending on how fast Bianca fades, we might wrap it up early. We'll just wait and see. So should be pretty good, babe. Should be pretty good. So to get into it, a couple of questions from the comment sections. First of all, we have Stephen. How do you deal when the fish lay eggs in the system? That is really not an issue for us here in Australia because our native species don't tend to reproduce in small little backyard systems. I have heard legends of it happening in larger commercial ones, but just what people have said on forums and whatnot. I do know that you folks over in the States who grow with tilapia quite often will find little fingerlings floating around the place. And I think it was Rob from Bigelow even had a couple of koi or carp fingerlings turn up under his DWC strawberry rafts a couple of years back. So some fish species will breed in an aquaponic system, not a problem whatsoever. So just for us here, it's not really an issue. People that I have seen in the States who breed their fish tend to get a breeding couple and they'll put them in a aquarium off to one side. The tilapia will breed, the mother mouth broods, and then, sorry if the color's a little bit weird there, folks. The females will mouth brood and then they collect those fry, rear them up a little bit larger, and then pop them in the system. But the folks I've seen who do that tend to rotate their fish fairly quickly. I'm quite happy to let ours grow well over a kilogram or 2 pounds here, whereas a lot of those folks will try and get them out at around about the pound mark, and that way they've always got a certain size fish going through their system. So those little breeding setups can work well. For folks who it just happens in their system, I know they've turned up in, as I said before with Rob's, they've turned up under raft beds, they've turned up in radial flow settlers, all sorts of places in sump tanks. I think it may have been Matthias from Aquaponics Anonymous had one in his mineralization tank. I may be wrong there, but I sort of recall someone finding one in one of their mineralization tanks. So it's just one of those things. Yep, certain species will do it, others won't. So I hope that helps. If you are interested as well in seeing how the Aussie fish are bred, the jade perch in particular, the Aussie fish, I went up and saw the jade perch man. I think he calls himself the perch man now, Bruce, and I'll leave a link below this video once it gets put up to YouTube after the stream, and you can suss out how our jade perch are bred, so he can sell them to the domestic market here in commercial quantities overseas. So I find all that stuff very interesting, and I hope to do a bit of a catch up with Bruce again and bring that to YouTube as well. Just a little bit of a quality check here, Bianca. How's the video coming out? Is it just my screen? It keeps going dark.
I don't know if it's on my screen. I'm looking at the comments.
Bianca's looking at comments.
You're all right.
I'm all right, other than being hairy. Next off, we go to, Warren E. actually asked the same thing. Do the fish breed or do you always have to water them? I should order. Yes, I do need to order in fish. And yeah, as I said before, Aussie fish. Check out Bruce's video. Rightio, Solar MX6. G'day, Rob. Can you recommend a low maintenance fish for growers that want to focus on vigorous plant growth and not necessarily meat? Well, my go-to here in Australia, because it sort of depends on where you are as well, but my go-to here in Australia is pretty much all carp. Carp species includes goldfish and koi if you're in the southern states. They can handle the cooler temperatures as well as the more extreme ones to a point. So, yeah, they're a great little fish. There are a couple of commercial growers. I may be wrong here. Ryan Chattison grows out koi in his personal commercial system and then sells them on. Obviously, you're going to get more per kilo for a good-looking koi than you are going to get for a big fat barra or catfish or something like that. So those fish are definitely feasible and will grow fast. In saying that, I do know people who've just kept barramundi and other native fish just because they're fairly hardy. Barra up north in Queensland, that is, not in Melbourne or Tasmania. They've kept native Australian species, even though they don't eat them, and they donate them to family and friends who do partake of the odd fish here or there. So that could be something to look into. The other thing is, if you want to go for a smaller system, you could use just normal ornamental fish, things like guppies, gudgeons, firetail gudgeons are a good one for little aquariums here in Australia. Rainbow fish is another good one. And yeah, so blue eyes, yeah, Pacific blue eyes here in Australia. They're another good one. If you're looking at a smaller system, you could pack a fair amount of fish in there, and fairly easy maintenance-wise, fairly hardy. Best thing to do, I suppose, would really be inquire at your aquarium for your local climate and conditions and see what they recommend. Just explain to them that you're a nutty aquaponicist and you're trying to grow some plants with some fish poop, and yeah, see what they recommend. So there you go. Yes, Bianca's just said someone's mentioned. Oh, Bianca's just mentioned watch the size of your pump and how you design the system. Very true. If you have the pump in the fish tank and you've got tiny wee bitty fish, you're going to end up with fish all through your system. So yeah, you might want to look at some sort of a filter over the front. Yeah, we found gudgeons in the radial flow settler that were in the sump tank. Anyway, that's a different story. So there we go. Any other fish questions, leave them in the chat section there, and I'll get back to them later. Now on to media and grow beds. Jamison has two tones has asked, "Hi Rob, where can I get bulk expanded clay beads from?" They're pretty much all readily available from hydroponics stores around the world, as far as I know. And one big tip I would give you is to shop around and find the best bulk price. Fairly often, if you're buying 5 bags or more, you will get a little bit of a discount from a dealer. By the way, 6 to 7 bags will fill a 300 millimeter or 1 foot high cut IBC bed. So you'll be looking at 7 bags minimum, or 6 to 7 bags minimum. If you're getting, or if you're making a chop and flip style IBC system. So yeah, just to give you some idea, 3-bed system, what's that, 20, you're looking around about 20 bags, and anywhere up to $45 a pop. That can be a lot of money. So definitely shop around, find the best deal. And then if you want to be a little bit cheeky, if the best deal is a fair way away, just ring up your local hydroponic store and say, look, this is what these guys are offering. Can you price match? And yeah, you'll save a little bit of extra on fuel, or maybe freight if you're getting them freighted. I wouldn't recommend that. Quite often freight is about half to the whole value of the bag itself, unless you're ordering a pallet. So the other option is to look for things like scoria, expanded shale, lava rock, even pumice, fairly light media if that's what you're chasing, and they are considerably cheaper than clay media from what I've seen. I haven't done a real good shop around on the prices, but I do know just from local folks who have bought scoria, which is volcanic rock here in Australia, they found it dramatically cheaper than the clay balls. A little bit rougher on the hands, but, you know, such is, I suppose. Next one in the media. Joey has asked, is it okay to use lava rocks for grow media? Yes, Joey, it's fine, as I mentioned. Oh, one quick point, though. Scoria here in Australia, someone told me that they bought a dyed version of scoria or lava rocks just for ornamental. It's used as a mulch around the gardens and potted plants and that sort of things. So that is one thing to check out on the bag if the material has been dyed first. It won't be a problem with your hydroponic clay media. But yeah, it could be an issue if you're just buying small bags of the decorative scoria. So I hope that helps. Dustin, is there any disadvantage to doing the method shown in your user example where they have grow beds sitting on top of the water tank, thus eliminating the need for a pump? I think what Dustin's talking about is having just a normal fish tank, and then people just plop rafts in there and try and get the plants to grow like that. At a bare minimum, you would need oxygen underneath there, namely for the fish, because you're suffocating them by blocking off all the surface of the water, which is where the oxygen dissolves in. The other issue you may have, depending on your species, is the fish are going to smash those roots and feed on them, especially if they're omnivorous or herbivores. The next big issue you're going to have is biofiltration. If you've got a number of fish in a tank and there's not enough surface area for the ammonia oxidizing bacteria to set up colonies on, they're basically, you're going to end up with a a large amount of ammonia and nitrite in there over time. Possibly, nitrates, the system may crash before they even start making nitrate. But then again, that's all up in the air. It depends on how many fish you have in there, the volume of the tank, the amount of food going in, and that sort of thing. I personally wouldn't recommend it. I've seen people do it inside their homes with their little beta fish and things like that, but they generally have a little bit of a gap of water with the water pump coming up through the filter and then falling down into the water. Large scale in an IBC, definitely not something I would recommend personally.
I apologize, there's an asshole in the channel.
Sorry, there's a what?
There's an asshole.
Oh, just you can. Rightio, this is really easy. Oh, just block user. There we go. User is blocked.
Thank you.
Sorry, folks, for that. Yeah, definitely someone with a few problems. All you need to do, Bianca, the 3 little dots next to the star, block user. Then you go down and block user.
I don't have it.
You don't have it.
I put timer in mute.
Put timer in. Yeah.
Remove reports.
Sorry about that, folks. Just give me a heads up next time, and I'll block them straight away.
Okay.
Yes, a phallic head. Getting back to the where were we? Just quickly in that scenario, I have seen many people keep a couple of little. What do they call them? Cherry shrimp, even red claw crayfish, which you can get in the States as well, and little fish underneath their rafts in their DWC beds. But again, you have issues with them nibbling on the roots and maybe causing a few issues there. So there you go. Hope that's helped. Plumbing. Rightio. MC Times. Hi, been watching your video on the paid version, so that'll be the guide. Thank you very much to everyone who has purchased the guide, by the way. Really do appreciate the support. I'm working on the bell siphon and the cycling of the aquaponics system this week, so hopefully that'll be up very soon. They're the download bits and pieces that go along with the videos, but anyway, link down below, check it out if you want. Not sure where to comment on here, but yes, there is a comment section on the guide. There is a place where you can message me, and if you message me through that section of the guide, I can pretty much will get to you within 24 hours. Most of the time, it's just a matter of hours, except for when I'm sleeping, and yeah, I can help you out straight away. If you leave your comments in the comments section, as many of you know, I may not get to them for a number of weeks. I've been slowly catching up again this morning, but yeah, you can leave messages there. Now back to the question. How do you stop the bell siphon from floating? Installed everything, and then was filling the grow bed to do the water test, but the bell siphon keeps floating up. Basically, what can happen is the drain underneath the grow bed, if it's at a slightly elevated angle, so you have your bell siphon here, this is the drain work going into the sump tank or the fish tank or wherever you got the grow bed water going back to. If there is a little bit of standpipe there, if there's a little bit of water here and the air can't get back up into the bell siphon, or the underneath the bell through the standpipe, what can happen is that amount of air will just basically keep the bell itself floating over the top of the standpipe. The number one fix, is just to get that standpipe, that drain under the grow bed, and try and make it level or point it down slightly, and that will definitely help. It's something I actually left out of the bell siphon video, and will be one of the bits that I add on to the PDF download. The problem with a lot of IBCs, because they're very flexible in the way they sit on the cage, sometimes it can be on such an angle that it creates, when you put the PVC fitting in or the bulkhead fitting to run the standpipe drain work down, it can be on a little bit of an angle, and that can cause the drain to be on a bit of an upward slope. So just something to keep in mind. I did fix one of mine on our very first system, and I'm sure I included in a walk around clip. All I did was basically put a little bit of Rio mesh bar, the concreting bar in there, and that sort of just tilted the grow bed to such a position that the drain then ran downhill as it left the drain pipe. As something as simple as that can just fix the problem permanently. So yeah, definitely look at that first, mate. Hopefully I've already commented on this and left you a response, because yeah, after you said you're a guide member, yeah, I like to help people out as fast as I can. Yes. Next, we have Michael from the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, Michael. I like the use of the full height IBC container as a fish tank. Not a problem. Could you use ACQ lumber? ACQ lumber for the lid without harming the fish. ACQ is an alternative to the CCA, copper, chrome, arsenic wood treatment. It's still got copper in it though, so I would be a little bit hesitant to use it around the system where any water that's sitting on the bare wood itself could then fall into the fish tank or system. Excuse me, folks, I'll mute the mic. Frog in the throat. I wouldn't put it in any position where water would fall on it and then fall directly into the tank, because it could elevate the copper levels in the water just as a start. There may be other chemicals in there that may be toxic to the fish and plants as well. I haven't looked into it, mainly because there's copper involved in the process to make it a weatherable product. So I personally wouldn't use it. If you are going to use it, make sure you give it a really good paint, cover every little bit of it, and then build whatever framework you're going to do after that. Even if you paint it afterwards, water can get in between joints where bare timber is sitting on bare timber, and it may over time leach something in there. I did have a good look around to find some studies to say if it was harmful to fish or whatever. The best I found was a bloke on the forum saying, well, if it won't kill humans, it won't kill fish. Not necessarily true. We don't have the same metabolism as fish. For a start, we're warm-blooded. So, yeah, definitely something I wouldn't do. Now, he's asked something else as well. This is something that I get a bit. Why not utilize the IBC container drain? So, as most of you will be familiar, there is a little valve outlet in a little alcove sort of recess in the base of an IBC center. And what you can do is you can attach a little bit of pipe to come out from that. There'll be a better graphic explaining this on the when I edit this down and post it a little bit later, by the way. You can add a little bit of pipe that comes out from that. Then add a standpipe, so basically an external solids lifting outlet, and that will dictate the height of the water in the fish tank itself, because water will only reach as high as the top of that pipe. Once that pipe overflows, the fish tank water will go no higher than that. The one downfall of that that I see straight off the bat is the inside of the fish tank. You have no way to really create a meshed off area that can be cleaned out readily on the inside to stop small fish going up and out. Probably be great for collecting the solids, because there's naturally, if you set it up flat, there's naturally a little bit of a slope towards the drain, so good in that respect. But yeah, very hard to screen it off. I suppose it could be done. Might need a little bit of plastic welding or a lot of Sikaflex, some sort of fish grade sealant to put some sort of mesh on there. You wouldn't want it too small. Too small, it would definitely clog up the mesh, and you could end up with continual issues trying to maintain it and allow the water to flow through freely. Second issue I do have with it, especially if people just stick the pipe is on the external pipe work, where you have the drain, the solids lifting outlet coming up on the exterior. If you do not make sure that is definitely glued down the bottom, definitely glue it and attach to something firm, either a post or directly onto the side of the IBC cage itself. You could very easily have problems with people bumping the pipe work, and if there's a leak down the bottom, you're going to lose all the water in the fish tank straight off the bat. May take a little while if it's a slow leak, but yeah, there is a possibility of just you end up killing a fish by lack of water. That's why I prefer the internal solids lifting outlets if I can. So I hope that helps you out with that one. He was basically going on to say it would require some sort of removable interior screening. So there you go, to stop the sediment blocking it up. But you wouldn't need a uniseal or bulkhead fitting at the top of the fish tank for the solids lifting outlet. Yeah, but again, the security of having that inside the tank is what I prefer. I mean, if anyone wants to have a crack or anything I say here, if you've got any links to videos or whatever that go against what I've said or anything like that, or give other options, other ideas for other people, please let us know in the chat here or on the final version once it gets uploaded to YouTube. And yeah, so people can discover other stuff on Facebook as well, or other websites. As you know, by no means do I think I'm a guru in this sort of stuff. It's probably almost over a decade's worth of experience. So I don't mind sharing my knowledge when I can. So that's pretty much all that for there. I do have another question here about how much does it cost to run a system and all that sort of thing. But how far are we into this, Bianca? I can't see the time. There we go. We're about half an hour into it. So if I tackle that, I think I need better graphics to do that. So that might be something I tack on to the end of the cropped version that I upload to YouTube probably next weekend. We'll make it next weekend's video. So
Rough says he's considering doing this all on 2 city lots, 100 by 150 large shop vertical fish food in Mina, Nevada.
Rightio. Bianca's just said, you guys just realised Bianca you couldn't hear Bianca then. Modoc, Rostock, I'm considering doing this all on 2 city lots, 100 foot by 150 with large shop, vertical fish food in Mina, Nevada. Good on you, mate. I definitely get some input from some local people who've already done it. Maybe do some tours of farms if you can. Get someone to consult. I know Ryan Chatterson consults. There are a couple of other people who I follow online that I can't remember the name of their companies, sorry, but they do consulting as well, and a lot of it can be done online now. We've all become pretty proficient at that, so definitely get some professional people in your area to give you a bit of a run through what you're going to need and what you're going to do. So I know licensings for different things is for fish, keeping fish and selling food are different over there. I know we're being covered in more and more red tape all the time. But yeah, that's something I definitely look at first to see if it's even profitable on that end before you even start designing the system. So, hi, Dana.
Kayleen.
Sorry. Kayleen
says, I have been recently watching your videos on the self-wicking water.
Rightio, Kayleen, rightio, I'll find it up the top here, B. If you just want to tell me the name, I'll find them.
Kayleen Frost.
Kayleen Frost. I hate hearing Bianca croak like this. Where we go. Yes, Kayleen. Have been recently watching the videos on the self-watering wicking systems. We have a late frost and a dry summer location, and I think that would be the best option for us. Definitely a bonus if you're in a dry area, even more so if you're only on tank water or not municipal water or don't have access to a decent bore that can pump a decent amount of water. I also like too that they are off the ground, so in some cases, not all cases, they can actually save you from a little bit of frost damage as well. One thing I would recommend though is if you're in an area that has a hard freeze, to have some sort of facility on the reservoir of the wicking bed so you can drain it fully through winter and just let it rest over winter, mainly because the expansion of water when it freezes can do damage to pipework, and if you're using plastic liners and things like that, it may, in the corners especially, may expand and rip the plastic and cause you all sorts of issues. So definitely something to keep in mind if you're in a place that gets a hard freeze. But yeah, wicking beds, absolutely love them. We're actually looking at doing a design video for the front yard, asking your folks if you have any input very soon. Bianca's suggested the idea. We're actually going to put the veggie gardens out the front and do a bit more ornamental and fruit trees and nut trees out the back, along with the aquaponics. So yeah, just looking to move the veggies out the front there, and they will all be wicking beds. How we build them, I'm not too sure yet, whether we'll go with the linked IBC builds or whether we go with a corrugated iron or a color bond style tin bed with a timber framing around it, and just turn them all into wicking. So something we're going to be thinking about very, very soon. But yeah, definitely my go would be the wicking beds.
John Cox.
Hope that helps. Joel Cox.
John Cox. Have you heard of people using aquarium type fish for aquaponics? Which I think was sort of.
Yep, John Cox. Have I heard about people using aquarium type fish for aquaponics? Yep, as I mentioned before, for folks who aren't growing table fish, probably the best suggestion I could give is go into your local aquarium or fish wholesaler if you're lucky enough to have one. I know There's, I forget the name of it. I'll put it down below underneath Aussie Fishes. There is an Australian mail order ornamental fish service. Great prices, great service from what I've seen. Met the bloke, top bloke. So definitely look at contacting someone who's a specialist. Tell them your area, your climate, what you intend to do with them, and they will probably be able to give you a really good suggestion for something that you could use. So that would be my tip.
John also said, been looking into rising small aquarium species like guppies.
Rightio. Further down.
Changing it to floating raft.
Been looking at raising a small aquarium species like guppies. I have a chip. Is that a constant height one? A chip fist or a chop? Sorry, mate. I don't really quite get that acronym. And changing it this year to floating raft, and did a small section of that last year. Yeah, cool, mate. If you're doing ornamentals, definitely also look into having a look at maybe something that you could sell off and earn a couple of bob for as well. You know, it never hurts to help get an extra little bit of income to pay for the system. Again, like I was mentioning with the tilapia, some people have breeders off to the side. Maybe you just have some breeders off to the side. You pull out and get them to reproduce in an offside tank, and then put the fish back in. You know, something to think of.
Big Wave Flav.
Yep.
What's your favourite veggie in your system?
Big Wave. What's the favourite veggie in my system? Would have to be broccoli. I'm sort of restricting my diet at the moment. I'm cutting out a lot of things to look after a couple of issues, and I'd say broccoli would have to be my go-to, or something like one of those the broccoletti, one of those broccoli family. Use all the leaves, use the heads, not a problem. They don't affect my digestive system like other plants, so that would have to be my number one. Number two would have to be ginger, just because I really like growing ginger, eating ginger, using ginger. And yeah, that pretty much will have to be my number one and my number two.
Check. Constant height in tank.
Constant height in tank. Okay, cool. Thanks, mate.
Found one that works. I'm having problems with string algae. Recommendations for this?
Sorry, which one's this, Bianca?
This is found one that works.
Oh, sorry.
He's having problems with string algae. Any recommendations for this?
Rightio. Found one that works. Question: I'm having problems with string algae. Any recommendations for this? If you've got tank and water exposed to UV light, pretty much will cut that out as much as you can first off the bat, even if it means you need to wrap something around the outside of your system if you're growing in something like an IBC-based system. Secondly, on the return back to the fish line, if it's persistent, you can't get rid of it. I would suggest maybe doing something like a UV filter. Only after the grow beds, though. UV can lock out some forms of nutrients. So if you can hook it up running back to the fish tanks, it will probably do a lot of good there. We had string algae and all sorts of algal blooms in the straight aquaculture system we had. I did exactly that. Even though I wasn't worried about grow beds, I didn't want it before the bioreactor, just in case it killed off any bacteria going into the bioreactor. I had it after the bioreactor going into the fish tank itself. So try and keep that bacteria load up from the fish tank all the way through to the bioreactor, if that makes sense. But string algae in particular, I just tried to remove as much as I could physically with one of those, just the fine mesh aquarium nets, the biggest one I could get, and then yeah, just whack the UV filter on, and it looked after it. Looked after the algae over probably about a week and a half, 2 week period. I have heard people dumping hydrogen peroxide into systems. Problem is that can kill bacteria, and you need the bacteria colonies in there to for the oxidizing ammonia and nitrite bacteria in there to keep the system ticking along. So probably not something I would do if you have a lot of fish in there and you don't want to crash your system. Anyone else have any suggestions who's actually dealt with a big infestation? Again, please leave it in the comment section down below or in the chat beside it. And hopefully, yeah, found that works, can come back and have a gander. David Wilson underneath. I have silver perch in South Australia for 15 months and aren't large enough to eat yet. I expected 12 months growth. Would be Sorry, I expected a 12-month growth would be large enough. What is normal? I had silverfish. Some didn't mature to full size until about, full size being around about 500 grams or half a kilo. Oh, sorry, same thing, or 1 pound. Some didn't mature until about 18 to 24 months. I have been told that with most Australian perches, you have a 10-80-10 rule. 10% a little bit stunted and runts genetically, and they take forever to grow out. 80% will grow within the mean average time, and you'll get 10% that will just grow to full size lickety split. But the silver perch, they can take a little bit longer. It's basically you need the water in the optimal temperature range for them, which is around about 24 degrees and above, I think. They will start feeding a little bit lower than that, but once they're in that temperature range for a fair number of months, and as long as you can keep the feed up to them, they should be putting that feed on. Make sure it's top quality aquaculture grade food as well. I do know some people who still feed their native fish flakes because they can get them cheap in bulk off eBay and places like that. Definitely not something I would recommend for Australian native table fish. Just go straight for the aquaculture feed, and that'll help a lot. But yeah, sometimes they just take a little bit longer, mate, depending on the conditions. So, yeah, some of them took 2 years. We had some that were up around about the 500 gram, 1 pound mark, and about 14 months, 15 months. So there we go.
And moving on to that, Nate M says, what do you feed fingerlings? I do a little bit. Good morning, Kira. I have bought crumble from the hatcheries and also from local produce suppliers. They quite often will have aquaculture feed as well, because you only need a small amount as they slowly progress up to the small 1 millimeter pellet, which I don't know what that is in imperial, sorry, but it's a tenth. It's a tenth of a quarter of an inch, somewhere around there. But anyway, the crumble, yeah, I just use that, the professional stuff. Then what I tend to do is buy the next pellet up, which is the 1 mil pellet, or I think there's a 4 mil as well up above that. And as the fish progress, give them the 1 mil, again, only small quantities. And then once they get big enough to take something a bit bigger, I get the 4 mil pellet and I crush it down a bit and I use that. It goes a little bit crumbly, but the fish normally knock it off pretty quickly. And if you're also in a bind, you can get that 4 mil pellet and just smash it through a food blow processor, turn it into crumble, and feed your fingerlings that as well in a pinch. Fingerling crumble generally is formulated slightly different though. So hope that helps. Barbara underneath. Howdy, Rob. Can you recommend a pump that can take heavy sludge to take it to the sump barrel?
Rightio, to take it to the sump barrel. You'll find that most pond pumps are pretty good at moving solids around because a lot of debris falls into ponds. So I tend to use pond and fountain pumps for most of my builds. I know that if you have say a sump tank that accumulates a lot of solids that you can't move, or how you've designed your radial flow settler or solid settler, a lot of stuff sits down the bottom, then a good basically sump pump, most of them are a good sludge, have a capacity to move the soft sludge around, so something like that is a one-off use. But generally in a system as a whole, I just run with the pond pumps, and if there's fish in the tank, I find they just keep the solid suspended in the water and they tend to take it out. But if you've got a situation where it's just sitting in one area and you need to move it periodically, maybe a sludge pump that you just drop in until those solids are gone and away you go. So hope that helps. Sabernaut 1. I have a small aquaponics greenhouse in Missouri. How do you recommend starting seeds and planting something reasonably cheap? Big seeds can just throw in and they grow. Small seeds didn't work. I pretty much will just use potting mix, mate. Or I do know some people use perlite. Rob has a finer grade of expanded shale that he uses, and create little ebb and flow little seedling trays and things like that. I'm quite happy just to start them off in soil in punnets that I've saved from the nursery, or maybe even just in a large bed. And once they get pretty sizable. Normally their first set of true leaves. I'll just sort of take them out. If the soil's not jam-packed around the roots, just shake that off in a little cup of water and then pop them directly into the media beds. I also don't worry if they get fairly advanced in the punnets and there's only a small, say probably about an inch cube amount of soil around them. I'll just pop that soil in the media beds as well. If you're running DWC or NFT, I wouldn't do that. I'd try and wash as much off as you could, or maybe even start off in a vermiculite or perlite blend. But yeah, that's pretty much all the way I'd go. Also too, with the perlite, if you are using just a large tray of perlite and the sprinkle method just to grow a number and then just selectively pulling them out for deep water culture or NFT, you can clean that perlite off, so you're not moving disease from crop to crop. I think most people will use like a hydrogen peroxide clean or something like that. Also too, because if you end up with Pythium in your seedling tray, then you put it in the system, then it spreads through your system and all sorts of issues. So that would pretty much will be the cheapest way to go, reusing perlite. But yeah, just potting mix. You don't need to buy seed raising potting mix either, folks. Just to let you know, I get a normal potting mix and a fairly fine grade compost sieve or a gold sieve, and just sieve out all the large chunks, and you end up with fairly fine potting or seed raising mix, and I pretty much will use that. If you find it's a little bit too clumpy, just add in some coarse river sand just to loosen it up a bit. Hope that helps. Yeah, here we go.
What do you do about NPK deficiency?
Shane, what do I do about NPK? Well, nitrogen's not an issue in most aquaponic systems, unless you're just starting out. Ours is straight through the roof. Phosphorus is generally not an issue in fish fed a commercial aquaculture feed. I do know people who will supplement it, especially if they're growing mainly fruiting and flowering plants in their system. They will definitely add a fair bit in. But potassium, I use potassium bicarbonate to add extra potassium in. You can also use potassium hydroxide if you're comfortable with using hydroxides. I know some people aren't and don't recommend it. You can also use things like kelp powder. The kelp powder that we buy is particularly high in potassium, 16% potassium, and it's jam-packed full of other goodies as well. One particular brand boasts 60 other micronutrients, so that could be an option as well for upping your potassium. The phosphorus, again though, not really something I've had to encounter. I do know some people do add it in. I could do a search now and find you what formulation they use, but it might be something you can just do yourself as easily. Just phosphorus used for aquaponics, and I think Bright Agritech have a video on their channel that mentions it in particular. So yeah, have a bit of a gander and see what you can find there.
I'm scooting forward.
Bianca's scooting forward
because there's a relative. Nate says, I can't grow cucumbers in aquaponics for the life of me. Water temp 70 Fahrenheit and have.
Rightio, I'm going to find it because you guys can't hear Bianca croaking. So Nate, I can't grow cucumbers in aquaponics for the life of me. Water temp is 70 Fahrenheit and have 40 part per million nitrates and supplement with MaxiGrow, MaxiBloom tips.
Owen helped out.
Owen's helped out. Cheers, Owen.
Using potassium as a culprit.
Yep, Nate. No offense, babe, but yep. People can't hear a croak. Nate, usually potassium is a culprit. Also pollination, hand pollinate mine, and if they still drop off, it's usually a potassium issue. Thank you very much, Owen. And another step you can go further than that is you can get a self-fertile F1 cucumber variety that the flowers are self-fertile, so you don't even have to worry about that. But my guess is probably a potassium, and because I'm not that good with temperature conversions, using my handy little app here.
It also says he hand pollinates with Q-tips and Sonic toothbrush.
Yeah, Nate, Bianca's just said that Nate also pollinates with Q-tips and Sonic toothbrush. It just vibrates, so it's like a buzz pollinating bee. Yeah. So you're running it around about 21 degrees Celsius. It may also be a temperature issue as well. I found in the start of the season, coming towards the end of winter, start of spring, if if the temperature doesn't rise high enough, you can end up with poor pollination rates. Basically, the plant may be pollinated, but the fruit won't stick. I have that happen all the time with zucchini and pumpkins here. Can hand pollinate to my heart's content. See the Europeans and the blue-banded bees going from male to female, and I get nothing stick. As soon as the temperature ups a little bit, though, just a couple of degrees, much better luck at pollination rates. So you might find, Nate, it might just be a matter of just waiting a couple of weeks and your pollination rates may rise. But again, can't hurt to have a look at your potassium levels as Owen suggested. And cheers again, Owen. So now we're going back up to
Alchemy.
Where? Sorry.
Alchemy.
Alchemy.
Nothing on clean grow media. Hydrogen peroxide and normal bleach.
I'm trying to find. Sorry, I've gone way too far. Grow media, hydrogen peroxide, normal bleach. Hydrogen peroxide is pretty much all what I've seen. Alchemy, pretty much all what most people. How did this guy get back in again?
Which one?
I don't know. Error occurred. Oh, I just had that spam, all those spam things pop up again. Yeah.
I can't see it.
Yeah, no, he's gone. Sorry. Now I've lost my place. Alchemy. Yeah, hydrogen peroxide. Sorry, guys. Hydrogen peroxide is pretty much all what I've seen most people use, and you can use bleach as well. It does gas off and over time. But yeah, my go-to would just be the hydrogen peroxide. Rightio.
C4 here in Texas.
C4. So how far down is that?
It wasn't far off Alchemy. We have a real issue with grasshoppers devouring crops. Any advice on either to kill the little bastards or at least protect the crops?
Thank you very much, Rob. I just saw Rob has put down Joe Pate and Ryan Chatterson. Yep. So yeah, for you folks who wanted to look at doing the commercial farm. Bianca, how far down Alchemy's question was it?
It was C4's question.
Whereabouts?
After Dana came in, I said, hi, Dana.
Oh, okay. Nate, yep.
C4, here in Texas.
I've only got a John Cox. I don't have a C4.
I bred fish.
Yep.
Go up 3.
Nope. My chat's not working out, folks.
Well, he says
I don't know what's going on. Sorry.
So he's got a real issue with grasshoppers.
Okay. Someone has a real issue with grasshoppers. C4 apparently. Devouring crops.
And any advice on either killing the little bastards?
Yeah, grasshoppers are a real pain in the butt here. We've the best thing we've found to work is exclusion, and even then the small ones tend to get underneath with a veggie net. I honestly don't. Pardon me, know what to tell you. I do know some people have got small ones under control using neem sprays in the system, neem-based. The azadirachtin basically stuffs up the endocrine system. I think it's the endocrine system of the insects and prevents them from shedding and doing all sorts of stuff, and they die off. Other people have used pyrethrum sprays, which that works really well if you're in a situation where your fish tank is way over there. You can decouple it from the aquaponics system. You can do a spray, keep it running for a day or two, let the pyrethrums break down, and then recouple the fish tank. Fish side of things, that works fine in those situations. Not something I'd recommend for a backyard system like our own, where you got the sun tank and the fish tank and the grow bed so close together. But there are some methods to get rid of them. The other thing is to, I suppose, encourage the native wildlife. Unfortunately, even though we've got loads of butcher birds around, they're constantly hanging around the aquaponics system. We still get grasshoppers. They only look after the bigger ones we've seen, probably around about 1.5 to 40 mil. The larger ones, they don't tend to get the small ones that can really smash the leafy greens. But definitely, try to encourage the local wildlife in and use them. But yeah, exclusion on the wicking beds was the best way we found to look after them.
Nate says he has recently seen disease with using my aquaponics water in the hydroponics separate grow tower. See that one?
No, I'm sorry, I'm coming down. Nate, fruit doesn't stick, about 20 mils long.
No, go up. Alchemy said click on the 3 dots, toggle timestamp, but whether that affects it. Nate and
I've recently seen a disease, yes.
that's it.
Hey! Okay, now I know I didn't see C4. I was thinking C4 is in the military grade explosive. It's
No,
SEA. Okay, sorry folks, my apologies.
User error.
User error, big time. I need more coffee. So, Nate, question. I have recently seen disease with using my aquaponics water in my hydroponics separate grow tower. What do you think could be the cause? It depends. It could be, is the disease on the leaf or is it on the roots? If it's on the root, it could be some sort of Pythium outbreak, fungal, bacterial. It depends. If the water is not circulated and being aerating, you may have conditions where the organics in the water is going a little bit manky and feeding those pathogens. If it's on the leaves itself, that could just be something down to environmental or maybe even a nutrient deficiency. So it's a bit hard to nail something like that down without having a good look at how the systems run and the plants themselves and what the damage is. Sorry. But yeah, there's somewhere to start at least. John, next down. I'm having a big problem with fruit fly in our tomatoes, looking to build the grow beds with a greenhouse where I might be able to screen them out. Is that a good idea? Yes. When our soil hoop house was totally screened off with the Veggie net, we had 2 beds full of our heirloom, well, not really heirloom, they're new varieties, but dwarf tomatoes made from heirlooms. And normally they would get smashed all through summer. I don't think we saw a single fruit fly in there. We got capsicums that year without them being blown, or sweet pepper, sorry, without them being blown by the fruit fly. I think we even kept off the little 3-striped beetles who were smashing our Cape gooseberries as well at the time, just by having that Veggie net down there and making sure, well, for the fruit flies, they tend to come in at level or from above. Was my understanding from a scientist I was chatting to. So as long as you've got the Veggie netting over the top and just laying on the ground, that's fine. But for critters like the grasshoppers, the bugs, the beetles, you can put something down on that Veggie netting to keep it down if it's not a fixed permanent position fixture over your greenhouse. Aphids, they won't stop aphids. I've heard of people saying that they're trying to exclude aphids by using the Veggie net, which is basically a loose weave shade cloth. They won't, because the ants will just bring them through those holes, set them up on a nice healthy plant, and then the ants will just continually farm the honeydew that the aphids release. So not good for them, but the larger bugs, yeah, that can help a lot. Sorry, which one? Hamidi, have you ever considered a biodigester for the excess fish waste to get free gas to use on occasion? Not a biodigester as in an anaerobic one for methane gas. We have an aerobic one that I turned off yesterday and I forgot to go and empty. Thanks for the reminder. Busy day. Yeah, so I've got the aerobic one. The idea is to turn it off, let the solid settle for an hour, then go back, decant the clean water and put that into the aquaponics system. I've let it sit for probably around about 18 to 20 hours at the moment. So I dare say some of those solids on the bottom have started to form gas and have floated to the surface. I'll just aerate it for another day and clean the radial flow settler tomorrow. The biodigesters, I have seen them used. There was the first guys I saw with a large aquaponics system in the States. They're a community garden organization. They also did an IBC biodigester, basically stuck in the top what do they call them? Incinerator, one of those in-sink units. You pop all your scraps down, mashes them up, puts them into the IBC itself. Everything was airtight and gas tight. There was a valve underneath the mulcher, and they created their own biogas from there. It's basically methane, as I understand it. You can put all sorts of stuff in there, animal waste, like your fish heads, guts, bones left over from your chops, all sorts of things in there, and they will digest over time. You can take the solids out. There is a procedure to do it, so it's all food safe, not food safe, human safe, and you don't create pathogens. So look into it more. Just don't follow my rough idea here. You can bleed off that nutrient-rich goop. You can process it further and use it as a fertilizer, and that gas comes off the top. You can also do it. I've seen it used in third world countries where they channel the waste from pigsties. Vietnam was the first place I saw it. They channel the waste from the pigsties into a bag. Same thing, biodigest, gas straight into the house. So they have methane cookers in there, and they don't have to worry about burning timber inside their huts or cow dung or whatever they were using. And they get a lot cleaner gas and a lot cleaner cooking. And I think they also did something with lactobacillus to make the whole process go a little bit faster, and also cuts down they fed the pigs lactobacillus that decreases the smell of the pigsty, but it's still a decent enough, the suitable bacteria. So when the waste goes into the digester, that works. So yes, have heard about it. Not going to try it just here yet. When we get a larger property, definitely something we will try. You can even use human waste in it as well. So I heard. Nah, Bianca just said. Have you experimented with vertical Zanenda? Have you experimented with vertical grow towers? I guess a nutrient film sort of thing, trickling water down through the grow media inside a column with openings along the sides for the plants. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people try and grow in that style, and it looks to work really, really well with the greens. And what are you shaking your head for?
Because our strawberries turned out shit.
Oh, yeah, our strawberries were different, though. That was different. These are grow aquaponic towers, not soil. We had a wall of strawberries growing in soil. If you look through our channel, you'll be able to find it. But the hydroponically and aquaponics, shush. Yeah, I've seen they work really well. A lot of people will do startups in the States a couple of years ago were doing leafy green and herb ones where they just take them into restaurants, and people would just basically take the herbs off it and use them fresh in the restaurants. They just have a little recirculating water thing down the bottom to keep the plants hydrated. Water just trickling in, and then it just goes down the sides of the pipe or the channel that they're set up in, hits the roots, and that's pretty much all the plants need. Vertical farm, there's been a lot of vertical farm Kickstarter type startups I've seen on different aquaponic groups on Facebook. Aquaponics Anonymous is one of them. There's a commercial aquaponics group as well where sometimes people post that stuff, and also I think there's one just called Aquaponics where people post that sort of thing. So yeah, if you're on Facepalm, join some of those groups and have a look at different people's ideas if you're looking at trying to develop your own. There's also, you can buy cups that can be drilled and placed into normal PVC downspouts and things like that as well on the market. Probably loads of 3D printables. Actually, hit up Larry, the aquaponics guy. I think he has a 3D printable stackable that pretty much all works along those lines. I think the plants do sit in media, so check out Larry's. I'm going to have to, I should be writing down all these links. I'll pop a link to Larry's down below as well. So far we have Larry, Rob, and Bruce and Co. I love having the secretary. Rightio, where are we now? We are down to Owen's Funhouse, MPK.
Yeah,
Nate's talking to, and Franklin below that. Perry Franklin. What products do you use in your beard? I use Naughty Goat Farm soap to wash it. Huge shout out to Hamish and Nicole. We should be catching up with them this weekend, but Bianca's crook. And they also gave me some experimental beard product as well that I use. I'm getting all fancy and dressed up to go out. Well, actually, we don't do much of that these days. So when I get all dressed up and fancy for Bianca, that's pretty much all I use. I've had a lot of beard questions lately. Don't know why that is. And no one's offered to buy any from Saudi Arabia for a while, so that's probably a good thing. I'm just looking in my eyes. Jeez, I look tired, babe.
People answered that John Cox answered a couple of times. Getting a 100-gallon tank.
Hillbilly Prepper. Hi, Rob. Getting my 100-gallon tank turned into an aquaponics system. Woohoo, from a greenhouse. How many goldies will it fit? Well, it would. Hope you guys are going well, by the way. Long time no chat. It would all depend on your biofiltration. I'd still, if you're going with goldfish, and they're the typical goldfish that will grow out to a rather sizable fish, I pretty much will just stick with the same one fish per 6.6 gallon. But how many you can stock in there ultimately comes down to your biofiltration, which is the media in your grow beds or a standalone biofiltration. Hello, Butcherbird. Here we go. Here you go. Biofiltration, media grow bed, you're looking at one fish per 6.6 gallons or 25 litres for you folks in the metric world. So you're looking at that pretty much well per fish. So if you can work out how much space you have for your grow beds first, then you can pretty much well fine tune how many fish you can stock in the fish tank. So I hope that helps.
Funny too,
yeah, goldfish do tend to grow larger if you give them a larger space. I've been told that goes with all fish, but definitely doesn't go true with fish like barramundi and Australian natives. Birds tapping in our gutter. I've seen barramundi grow in a probably about a 4 or 5 foot fish tank, which holds quite a number of litres, but I've seen them grow rather large. I mean, normally they should stay nice and small and something like that, but they grow well over 1.5 kilos in situations like that. So yeah, definitely the biofiltration. Anyway, getting back to that, look at your biofiltration, mate, and go from there.
Followed you for 6 months.
You're going to feed them? I've used all the feed you prepared earlier. Sorry, babe.
Okay.
Followed you for 6 months prior to purchasing your guide. Would love to go through the details of optimization of my system. Are you willing to reach out personally, provide some pointers? Yeah, you get 2 free questions through the guide, mate, and then they're pretty much all. You can upload videos and text there, and also photos if you need to describe stuff better. And I can help you there. I don't close off those questions, by the way. So if you're asking me something about biofiltration, I don't just give you one question, one answer to the question, and then just leave it flapping in the wind. I keep going until that's answered. David up north in Queensland here can attest to that. I just leave them open until we sort out that issue. Or I also do one-on-one consultations. Just with everything going off family-wise, extended family-wise and friend-wise and health-wise, I haven't launched the page, but it's sitting there ready to go on my website. I'm looking at around about $75 US for a 1 hour sit down with me. Basically what you do is you send me through all your questions to begin with, and I go through and answer them. Any I don't answer, if I don't know off the bat, I will delve as deep as I can, answer the questions, and then during the 1 hour hangout, it's actually 45 minutes, but I never stop talking. We sit down and I go through all those questions. Then I give you a downloadable PDF that you can use as reference to those questions, because I know not everyone takes notes or can retain everything when you're sitting face to face. And then I email that through, and we can have a bit of a back and forth email-wise afterwards. So that's $75 US. I'll work at doing that, getting that uploaded this week, that web page. Yeah, so I'm spending a lot of time on the computer at the moment and not much time out there doing much around the yard. But yeah, it's going to be rain all week this week, so I'll get all that sorted. So yeah, Nate, if you're interested in doing that, hit me up first through the questions, see if I can help you with that through the guide. And then if you want to take it a step further, I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Kisses back at you, Shibaka Wookie. Hope you're not as hairy as me. Then again, I wouldn't judge anyway.
She's having dinner with a family. So
okay. Sorry. I don't want to make anyone jealous either. Nate, the beard rocks. Jeez, mate. Rightio, with all the veg and fruit that you grow in your yard, approximately how much extra do you buy in? At the moment, the only fruit and veg we have actively growing that I'm taking care of is the aquaponics. I know I've mentioned this over and over, and I feel like I'm banging on about it. Bianca and I are in a little bit of limbo here at the moment. We really want to sell up and buy somewhere bigger. If I start putting gardens in all out the back and creating huge permanent structures over aquaponics, it's going to devalue the property of the house, because most people who live in the city don't want the hassle of maintaining an aquaponics system and a sort of a sustainable planted out backyard. So if I put all that effort in, yeah, I really don't want to see people just bulldoze it basically with a bobcat. Can't fit a bulldozer in the backyard and start from fresh. So we're trying to do the veggie patch out the front, the aquaponics area down the back. I'm just going to have one, possibly two small systems down there, and we're looking at just blocks, even just vacant blocks of land out at the minute out bush, somewhere not in the Brisbane, Ipswich, or Noosa Shire Council areas, and creating a small farm there where I can do multiple aquaponic systems. They don't need to be big, just small ones that I can trial out different concepts. Also have some cattle, some pigs, and a couple of sheep, and chickens, and yeah, just basically something a little bit larger, because I'm pretty confident I can sustain mortgage payments and stuff like that out there, and give Bianca a bit of a break, because I've been the home dad, if you guys don't know, for what, coming on 24 years, and Bianca's been working pretty much all full-time, except for when I was working with Hallmark for a while, and Ponics, the big bee shed here in Australia. So yeah, I just want to sort this place out, move out, then we'll grow more plants there. At the moment, getting back to that though, I just had to mention that, mainly because people keep thinking that we're growing loads of stuff. We're not at the moment. We've really scaled back. Garden beds out the front should be able to provide us with the majority of the greens between that and the aquaponics, because there's really only two of us eating here all the time now. The spice beds, I will have a spice bed down the back corner, living in the mulch underneath the mango tree. That's something that's very easy to dig up and take with us in pouches and pots, and they transplant really well. The lime tree is just giving us copious amounts of limes. I actually promised limes to a couple of people this week, and it turns out Bianca's going through about, what, 3 or 4 a day at the moment for your throat, just to help soothe the throat in honey and lime drinks. So sorry, we had to renege on that. Sorry, Lee, again. So we have those things growing on, but on a day-to-day basis, we're probably only grabbing a couple of leaves here and there. The sweet potatoes were nice while we had them. We've got a few more of them we should be digging out. And I will be starting potatoes for Bianca and Kira again.
Try the arrowroot.
Bianca said that she's really interested in trying the arrowroot, because we have had it before, but in curries, and it just, you don't taste it whatsoever. It really has no flavour at all. But we have a load. We've probably got about a month's worth of arrowroot growing down there. That's the Queensland arrowroot we could use. So, yeah, not a lot at the moment. Geez, I get long-winded, but stop laughing at me. Not a lot at the moment, but yeah, we're looking at growing a lot more in the coming months once I pull my finger out and sort out the front area.
Sort of cycling around again, but you've got MR Bushcraft Survival about an algal bloom. An
algal bloom. Yeah, talked about that a little bit before. MR Bushcraft, a UV filter after directly in front of the fish tank if you're having real issues with it. First off, though, before you do anything, try and get as much sunlight out of the system as you can, because the algae feeds off UV light. I think also too, I didn't mention this before, I also think that the system's coming to a balance after a while. Most of the people I've spoken to who have algal issues, it tends to happen when the system's first started, after it's cycled and you're getting a big boost of nitrates into the system. I generally found, with my systems anyway, not a lot to go on, not very scientific, but the algal blooms tend to settle down after a while. I mean, the aquaculture system is a prime example. I mentioned before I put the UV filter on just before the fish tank. The lids I didn't close any further. Still had the same access of sun, same amount of sun access as previously after I wrapped them in foil. But yeah, the nitrates climbed, but after a while, the algae issue just disappeared by itself. Never had to run the UV light in there again, even though algae from all around us in the atmosphere would have fallen in there and created a bloom naturally. Oh, the murky of the, yeah, when the algae died. Good one, Bianca. You're a smart cookie. You are. When the algae dies, if it is like a green pea soup, you are going to have to deal with those fine green solids floating around the system as well that can cause an issue. I found in the aquaculture system, because the flow rate was so high, the radial flow settler didn't capture them too well. So what I ended up doing was made a bit of an upflow filter out of the canister filter, if you will, out of the moving bed bioreactor, basically turned the air off into it, so all the media settled down. Then when the water came in on the top, I had some aquarium matting, filter matting on top, and that captured a lot of those fine green solids. And then I just hose them off once a week. I also cut down the feed level as well, because with the stable, well, it was acting like a trickle filter, really, not really a canister filter. The water was going through the matting and then just trickling down through the biofilter medium and running through the system naturally. Also cut down on the feed a bit, because I was a bit concerned that because all the biomedia wasn't getting fresh water all the time, the bacteria may not have been able to oxidize the amount of fish waste coming in, but that turned out not to be an issue at all. I didn't have any problems with that. So that's one way you can go. Another way is Owen uses from Owen's Funhouse channel. He uses the filter socks, and they're really great on any outlet where water's coming through from greeny murky areas, just to collect those fine solids. You'll have to bash them out multiple times a day if you do have a large solids load in the system. But that was one thing I used for a little while. I just got lazy and sick and tired of banging them out, so that's why I went with the trickle filter. And thanks to Mr. Paul Van for that idea. So hope that helps.
Joel.
Okay, Doc.
Dell's on too.
Delaney. G'day, Dell. How are you? Dell's an old mate from a frugal living forum I used to lurk around years ago in the bog. No one will understand that. Dell will. Hope all's well with you down there.
John's off for lunch.
Hi, John.
Joel O. How do I figure out how much feed, how many fish per plant ratio?
Sorry, I'm just reminiscing about Dell.
Joel O.
Joel O. How do I figure out how much feed, how many fish per plant ratio? Thanks. Generally, the best thing to do is ask the people at the place where you buy the fish what their feed ratio is. I'm taking you're talking about table fish. I know generally fingerlings can go anywhere up to 7%. I think tilapia, people recommend different ratios, but I have seen people recommend up to 12% body weight for fingerlings, tilapia fingerlings. But you basically get a percentage body weight for the fish, and you feed them that amount. If you're trying to pair that with grow bed space, there is a general rule of thumb, and it's very general. It's pretty much all worked out for deep water culture to begin with, and it goes on square meters or 3 foot by 3 foot grow bed space, and that is anywhere from 20 to 50 grams of fish feed. And I think they were working on a 30 to 35% protein fish feed, so 20 to 30 grams of that per square meter or 3 foot by 3 foot growing space for leafy greens. Now, if you want to complicate the issue and grow fruiting plants or flowering plants, you need to up the feed amount because that fish feed won't have a large amount of the potassium in it, which fruiting and flowering plants need. So they recommend anywhere from 50 grams up to, I've seen up to 120 grams per meter squared or 3 foot by 3 foot. A lot of people will recommend different amounts. I tend to just go with what Dr. Wilson Leddard recommended for the deep water culture systems and grow systems, and just try to fall roughly somewhere in that area there. So once you work out how many, see, you can go both two ways here. You can work out, because if you're running just deep water culture beds, you're going to have a bioreactor standalone that will be able to oxidize any of the fish ammonia. So I would work out your grow space, what you intend to, by square footage, square meterage, what you intend to grow, the required nutrients per meter to facilitate that. Mind you, you still need to add other elements in, you'll probably find. And then work backwards to see how many fish you need at a mature fish size or an average size for their life cycle if you're just running one batch of fish per one batch of grow beds. And then you can sort of work out how many fish you need. Or alternatively, if you know the world's your oyster with grow bed space, work out how many fish you can stock, and that'll work out how much fish on fish feed on average through their life cycle to harvest you'll be giving them, and then you can work out your grow bed space from that. I mean, you could go to the maximum space and then only plan out so many beds as well, so that way you're matching. If they're only, quarter grown, quarter amount of the food that they need, only have quarter of the grow beds online that you would normally run, and just have the others covered with rafts and the water still trickling through there, or maybe you can bypass them, it's up to your own design, I suppose. But yeah, I hope that helps you out a little bit, mate. I need a drink. Sorry, folks.
So maybe last question. We've been going now.
How long have we been going?
An hour and 15.
An hour and 15? Oh, we'll make it an hour and a half. You've only got one question left. Okay, well, that's fine.
Most people start jumping in now. Pierre says, when might we start?
Down to Pierre.
Prepping?
When might we start catching and start getting the perch ready? Very soon. I'm probably not going to be eating fish for another. How long have I been doing this? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. About another 2 weeks' time, I'll start eating fish properly again. Yeah. So in 2 weeks' time, I will harvest a jade perch, and I might just do a very, very gentle seasoning with some garlic and ginger. No chili for the time being, and roast that up in some foil or some. Actually, we could use banana leaves, couldn't we? Or turmeric leaves. We'll roast that up, and I'll give you folks a bit of a look at that. I'll go through the dispatching. Sorry, I just saw Owen's comment. I'll go through the dispatching and how I prepare it. What I might do is I might do a censored version and then do an actual dispatching on a different one, because I would like to keep videos monetized at the moment so we can buy somewhere and get out of here. And yeah, I'll do a dispatching one separately and run through how we cook it up. Yeah, so that will probably be in about 2 to 3 weeks' time. That I've got videos for next week, video for the week after. So yeah, it won't be 2 weeks until I'll have space on the schedule to actually upload that. So there you go.
We're going to try with the line.
Bianca just pointed out, are we going to try with the line? We've got one bullyfish in the system, as you folks may be aware of, and he always hovers up around the tank. It's going to be sad to lose him, though. He's always up around the top. Greets us every morning. And yeah, we're just going to try and harvest him with the line. Anyone who's tried to harvest fish from a tall round tank knows how hard it is to try and get the net down the bottom. I mean, you just hear the fish bang the walls continually. So we're going to get crafty. We're just going to get a small hook, a grub, maybe even a fishing fly, grasshopper fishing fly. Just drop it in the top of the tank. Hopefully he'll smash it. We'll just take him out straight away. A lot less stress on the other fish. So that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. I was speaking to someone online, and they were saying that's what they did. I used to think it would be, rather stressful to throw a line in to harvest a fish. But if you're just throwing a line in, very short line, it's only at the top. The fish doesn't get a chance to, bash itself around the bottom of the tank, and you can whip them out straight away into a net. I think it's going to be a lot stressful on the other fish. Previously, we've harvested fish, and the remaining fish wouldn't go back on the feed for, 2 or 3 days afterwards, just because of the amount of stress. So, yeah, I figure I'll try this method. Bushcraft
said what's the best way to keep fish feeding in the months.
Rightio. Jimboomba. I think I've got the wrong glasses. I sort of recognise the logo. I recognise them better than names. I use a 500-watt heater through the day for the really. You got Jades, yeah. In this system here, I had the hot water heater, 500-watt, running in the fish tank directly a lot, because the way it's set up is it got very little winter sun. The old system against the fence line, if you remember it, was set up in a position that got loads of winter sun, and I used to pop the heater on some cold nights where it went below freezing, and probably ran it for about a month and a half intermittently, just when need be down there, just because of the solar heating. So that's one way you can go, solar heating, and then just a heater as needed. Another way is passive solar heating, something I have tried once, but I just didn't have the pump and the setup and the money to run out and buy a new pump at the time that could handle it. But basically, large sections of black polypipe, food grade stuff they use for irrigation, big curls of that, and then just having it run continually into the fish tank. You can get more elaborate and do compost hot water systems. I had one that bumped the system temperature about half a degree, which would have been great somewhere else, but in our climate it was too much effort. If a larger compost hot water heater would have done the same thing, would have done better and bumped it up a couple of degrees, and that may have helped. Jean Payne, a French guy from the 70s, he's got done a lot of work with compost hot water systems. And I think, what's his name? The Duke of Permaculture. I keep forgetting his name. I think even Jack Spirico may have done some work on it, but they've got some information on it. Sorry, the phone's ringing. Just have to turn it off. Sorry, Mum. I'll call you back. Yeah, so suss out those things. Again, more links down in the description if you want to just write down compost hot water system, babe. Check them out if you're interested. But yeah, other than that, if you're just on the grid, a heater, actually, scratch that. You can also use a solar pool heater. Solar pool heater, they're a big black bladder that runs through it. Mel has one of them, an old supporter of ours. G'day, Mel. Hope everything's right with you guys. She just has it out in the sun in camp. She's around the same area as Canberra. I think she's more towards Sydney. But yeah, they get really, really cold there through winter. Just has that hooked into the greenhouse through winter on a separate pump, and that just pumps straight into a fish tank and keeps the fish nice and warm. I think she says her greenhouse stays around about 22 degrees through winter, and the water temp is around about 24 degrees. So that might be something to look into as well.
Dave,
Mr. Dave, how's it going, mate? My fish have pretty much all stopped eating. Water temp is around 22 to 24 C. Anything I can do to encourage them? Yeah, good one, John. I think they are silvers, though, from memory with Dave. I chat a bit to him through the years on Facepalm and YouTube. Yeah, maybe a little bit warmer. I found our silvers started eating around about the 22 mark. As long as the water temperature stayed constant through the day. As long as the low was the 22 degree mark, I found they would eat. So that might be as simple as that, Dave. Are these new fish? I can't remember. Are this the first run of silvers you've had? No, they're jades. Yeah, if it's running down cooler at night and your 22 is your max during the day, that might be putting them off. If you can keep it at the constant 24 all the way through, mate, you should be laughing. Our water temp is 24, 25 at the moment. We've had a few overcast days, and they're still smashing it like there's no tomorrow. The only other issue you can... G'day, Mr. Greg. Always brings a smile to my face. Yeah, another thing you can do is just test your attention of a cockroach. Actually, probably have good attention spans. Check your water quality, mate. See how your ammonia and your nitrites are going, and your pH as well. Because when I had a nitrite fluctuation years ago with the first system, the first thing I noticed was the fish went off the feed. So that might be something just to have a look at. See if you've got any issues with that as well.
2.5 years old.
Oh, 2.5 years old. 2.5-year-olds. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, they're large enough that the temperature fluctuation shouldn't be too much of an issue, mate. So, yeah, suss it out and see how you go. Anything viewers can do to boost your income so you can buy whatever you want to. Give me the lotto numbers. I'm not a big one to ask for money. There's super chats, but seriously, if you want to throw a couple of bobs our way, I'd suggest you join our Farm Your Own Yard website. There is the YouTube membership platform, but YouTube take a huge cut out of that for servicing the pardon? Yeah, share the videos. I mean, first off, if you can't afford, just share the blooming videos. I'm fine with that. You can do super chats on things like this, but then again, YouTube take the lion's share, or not the lion's share, but they take a huge chunk out of that. Farm Your Own Yard website, there's a link below. You can buy the guide, and then you got something, some bang for your buck, so to speak. Supporting us. Also, you can chat to me, send me emails and stuff like that. I did have one guy who sent me emails continuously. A couple of times a day and got upset when I couldn't answer them all. Please don't expect that sort of service. But if you do have a question here and there, happy to help out where I can. Yeah.
Owen had an interesting one. He raises the pH a bit when it's cold and they seem to eat more. You ever notice that?
No, it's not something I've tried, but I've heard Owen say that before. So there you go, Dave. Yeah, raise the pH a little bit and see how you go. See if that helps you out, mate. Yeah.
It might be something to test.
Yeah, if you can share us all over Facebook pages, that'll help as well, Joel. The other thing is, I don't know. I'm not a big one for donations. I prefer you guys subscribe to something or buy the guide rather than donate money to the cause. I am looking at making bell siphons for the folks in Australia. If you want that sort of thing, and also a couple of people asked for drain fittings because they really didn't have the tools and the skills to glue that sort of thing up. So I'm thinking about making drain fittings as well. I mean, if you guys want me to make up, well, thank Owen too. Owen's a great help. He's a legend. Brisbane Backyard Aquaponics Group. He haunts there. Sorry to dob you, Owen. Yeah, if you guys want me to, I've never gone the route of merchandise like T-shirts or cups and stuff like that. I prefer to give people stuff that is, sections of beards. If I prefer to give you something useful, but if people want coffee mugs, which are useful, I suppose, and I suppose shirts stop you from getting indecent indecent exposure charges from the cops. Yeah, if you want that sort of thing, let us know. I've got some people working on a logo at the moment, trying to standardize the logo for the guides in the book when it comes out. And I'm actually looking at doing a complete online course as well. A load of people have said that the videos that I've already done to the guide are really good. I find they're disjointed though, and would like to do like from the start all the way through a basics introduction to aquaponics course. So I'm looking for a proper branded icon and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
It just had an interesting one there.
I feel like I just ramble on too much.
You got 5 minutes.
I got 5 minutes? Okay. It'd be nice to know the inlet and outlet flow rates for a given tank volume. That would be awesome. I still stick by, for fish tank wise, I still stick by the 1.5 minimum in my personal systems. You can get away with one time an hour. That's basically if you've got a 1,000-litre, 650-gallon tank. The amount of water flowing in there, minimum for me, is 1,500 litres an hour. Basically, so you have that exchange rate going through. You can get away with once an hour, so 1,000 litres an hour going through an IBC tank, but I prefer it elevated a little bit. And you'll find the faster you go, as long as all your filters can handle it retention rate wise, you'll find your water in your fish tank becomes crystal clear if you up the flow rate. Something, I've known people to do it when they want that money shot for the post on Facebook. They'll up their flow rate just to get it crystal clear, and then they'll knock it down again because they know those solids are getting stirred up in the radial flow settler and then moving on to other sections of the system. So, yeah, so flow rate 1.5 times minimum from the fish tank. As for through your grow beds, the same thing. You need the fish tank, the volume of water from your fish tank to flow through your biomedia in your media beds, something just fell in my hair.
Big beetle.
The big beetle just fell in my hair.
He's in
I'll let him crawl around. Oh, there we go.
I think it's a potato beetle.
Yeah, no, it's a mango beetle. See you, beetle. Where was I? Yeah, 1.5 for your media bed biofiltration or your standalone biofilter, so you can get that ammonia converted. So, yeah, just a bit of a pointer there. Just quickly too, also, there's someone I follow on Facebook who also does breed fish in his system here in Australia. He's in Victoria, though, and he uses an invasive species you can't use in other states, but is okay in Victoria, and that's redfin. So just a heads up for you folks down there if you want to crack at breeding some of your own fish. Apparently, it is legal to do. Double check with the Victorian DPI or Natural Industries to see if that is an option. And you can also eat the redfin, but New South Wales, big no-no, apparently. Big fines.
Nate says yes, water volume at 1.5, knowing what size pipe you want to have.
Oh, sorry for you don't. Sorry, mate. What size? If you're running 1.5 times an hour in a vessel that's about 1,000 litre, 650 gal, I would stick with a 2-inch or a 50 mil pressure pipe. PVC line. You can go smaller to a 40 mil or 1.5 inches. I just found that the tendency for most backyarders is to tinker and expand. And once you've got that 50 mil hole in there, you can reduce the fittings on the other side to restrict the flow if you want to restrict the flow rate. But if you want to cut a 50 mil hole in, or a 2-inch hole, I work in inches, most Aussies know inches. If you want to cut a 2-inch hole when you've got an existing 1.5-inch hole there, it can be a bit of a pain in the butt to do. So my preference would be to go for that 2-inch hole in a system that's flowing 1.5 times an hour in that larger tank, and then just retard the flow with smaller diameter fittings on the other end. You can get takedowns from that, from any fitting going through from a 2-inch down to 1.5 if that's what you want to do. I just found they do flow better, and in most systems it's pretty easy to flush any solids out in those lines. If you're running at 1.5 times an hour, you're probably going to get a good solids flow rate through those lines anyway, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. Let me know if you need more info on that, if I haven't answered it. Oh, thank you very much. Mitchell, thank you very much. Really appreciate that, mate. How much is it to send additional messages via your course website? It is free for the first 2. Hope no one from Retrieve is listening. I generally tend to leave them open until I'm satisfied all the issues with that problem have been answered. So one question, probably shooting myself in the foot here. One question hypothetically can get you a number of questions answered. But after those 2 questions, I've closed them off. I think it's $5 a question after that. So I have found for a couple of people who've used it, they've had issues cycling a system and they've put fish in without it being cycled properly. So they really appreciated the fact that they could ask a question and I could get onto it like that. I think in most cases they ask in America at about 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'm up fairly early and I had them answered by about 6:37 in the morning our time. So they only had to wait 3 or 4 hours. So a lot quicker than I answer a lot of YouTube questions under comments under videos. So yeah, that's one of the benefits. So yeah, if that works for you, yeah, but as I said, even if you pay the $5 for that additional question, I have the same standards. I'll keep answering that, and before I close it off, and I think you get the final charge after I close it off. So we make sure that question is answered and you're happy with the response before that happens. Oh, cheers, JTM. Where are we? Austin Moore, have the beard question been answered or burnt out? Oh,
Charles said he wanted to know what fertilizer you used.
For the beard, a lot of fish waste. A lot of fish, when they splash you when you're feeding them, a lot of that gets in your face. And I can tell you the system's well salted still. And also too, yeah, made a silly mistake putting the water in the mineralizer the other day. Full blast from the pump straight down. I just had mush. Yeah, wasn't good. Wasn't pretty. So that's my beard fertilizer. And the odd bits of dinner that, no, I don't lose dinner in my beard.
Oh, you're good at that.
I'm good at that.
Yeah.
2
minutes over, my darling.
Well, 5 minutes is over. Well salted, yes, very well salted.
Yeah.
So there you go. Before I go, anyone who's decided to hang around to the end, if you have any suggestions for videos, please leave them in the chat section next to me. I'm feeling a little bit burnt out with the aquaponic ones at the moment because I've pretty much all covered a lot of the basic backyard stuff without going back through and fixing up older videos, which you've probably noticed I have done a bit. I've gone back through older videos where I've left little bits out which I think can help people discovering aquaponics for the first time. So I've re-uploaded them. Bianca's laughing evilly. She's laughing at the feed. Well, I'll look at them in a minute. Yeah, so any suggestions, I hope they're polite suggestions, leave them in the chat or in the comments afterwards when I repost this to YouTube. I have been looking at doing a bit more how to grow plants videos, but seriously, most people I know are sick of those sort of things. Every year there's more how to grow tomatoes, every year more how to grow brassicas and all that sort of thing. There is one brassica video I might redo because I left out pest control in that one, as someone's pointed out the other day. But yeah, I might wait until I get the channel up and running properly again, more content when I do the new builds before I hook in to how to grow plants, and I'll try and make them more designed around aquaponics. So there you go. What was the question?
What's a chigger?
A jigger? A jigger of...
C4 has, do you have chiggers though? If so, how do you exercise the demon scum?
Chiggers? Is that nits?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's a question in there. It's from C4. And C4, his nickname is that implied, if you see that.
No, I didn't. Here we go. Sorry, folks. Just chatting amongst ourselves. Bianca's just said C4, something about his nickname. Now I've lost the chat.
Your intention, your thing is correct.
Please do not go there. Tomatoes have equal needs. Other than that, JTN. How you grow marijuana in your setup? Okay, now I see what's going on.
Still illegal in Australia.
Still illegal in Australia. I know there is a big medicinal market here in Australia. Unfortunately, due to some of my hobbies, even if I needed it medicinally, I can't partake of it medicinally or recreationally here in Australia because I value my other hobby a little bit more at the moment. But yeah, that's just time will tell. It will become legal.
Billy says that we should do more cracking. I haven't done that for a while.
Yeah, I haven't done. Yeah, hydro is something I will be doing more hydro videos. Don't want to step on Hucho's toes though. Mainly because I think it is a good stopgap for some plants. The hydroponics, as I mentioned before, I'm just going to concentrate on growing greens. I find if I'm just growing greens and I don't have the other fruiting plants and the rhizomes in there, I don't seem to have the nutrient needs above and beyond fish feed, a little bit of magnesium and a little bit of iron every now and then. So I might look at doing there's some good organic hydroponic nutrients as well as you can do bioponics. There's a bioponic channel here on YouTube if you want to suss that out. Basically using things like compost teas, compost brews. I could use stuff from the mineral digester from the aquaponics, add that in. Even human urine. I know a lot of people scoff at that, but most of the world still uses it as a fertilizer, and that is something I would look at doing in a bio-organic system hydroponically. So yeah, there is loads more options there with hydroponics. Yeah, and I really need to catch up with Mitchell again. I need to go up to Gympie area and catch up with some other mates. And I'd like to go and chat with Hucho because, believe it or not, he's a really nice guy. Off screen, I know some people find him a little bit too bald on screen, unlike myself. But yeah, sorry, mate. Anyway, Potent Ponics highlights. Yeah, check out Mr. Steve at Potent Ponics. He has got a great wealth of information on his YouTube channel. You just need to go through the previous podcast. He's actually asked me to go on again. And once I sort out stuff around here, I would love to hop back on with him. And also as well with Mr. Rob from Bigelow Brook Farm and Mr. Perch Man, Mr. Bruce up at ISIS. Go hang out with him and do a live stream or a video with him as well. A few creators I'd like to catch up with. Anything, Bianca?
Thank you, C4.
C4, thank you, Bianca. I can't forget it. She tells me so many times a day. I can never forget how pretty she is. So there we go. I think I've missed a lot of the chat too. Sorry, folks. So I'll go through and read it again while this is just going through and processing to be posted live to YouTube. And I will be editing out the front portion, adding some graphics to explain a few things better. And I will be adding in the cost to run a system as well. And that will be uploaded as next week's video. And also too, if you've been liking the small little videos I've been uploading through the weeks, they're designed as supporters videos. But I've been uploading them for you folks as well. A bit more vlog-like, just bits and pieces going on around the place. Let me know. Again, in the comments below this video or in the chat beside it. And yeah, I'll keep doing them if enough people like it. I might actually do a bit of a poll on the community thing as well. Just trying to work out, you know, what you guys want, what information you want, and what you enjoy to watch. So there you go. Hang on, your thoughts? One more. Okay, no, one more. Should I do one more? Your thoughts on tilapia and whether, like in the US, we can have it in aquaponics system with special permits? If you're in Australia, no, you can't. It's a blanket no-no. There was a chap in the aquaculture game who was saying he was pushing before he got sidetracked onto another venture down south. He was inquiring whether they could do the hybrid. So it's a, I think it's a blue and a Nile tilapia. They cross them and they get a hybridized male. Grows faster, plus the progeny come out more, I think it's more than predominantly male. I think it's like 99% or something like that. There were pushes for that commercially. As to whether us lay people could ever have access to something like that, I don't know whether that would be the case, just because it'd be such a highly controlled industry. And again, that was, oh God, a number of years ago now. How long ago did Mr. Van nip off down south? That was like 7-8 years ago.
Too long ago.
Yeah, too long ago. So I think he's he joined other people down south, and I think that was just went by the wayside. There would be so much involved with the CSIRO here in Australia. That's the government science agency, and all the lobbyists that fund them to get them to say what they want, and the government bodies over here. There'd be so much work to get it through, just because there's so much of that tilapia, bad, okay. Attitude, even though they're all through the river systems in southeast Queensland, all through our local waterways that supply us drinking water, and all the way down to northern New South Wales. They're already here. You can't get rid of them. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens down the line, though, if people realise that they are a sustainable way to go for growing fish fast in backyards for people to grow their own food. Prattling on again. I will leave it there, though. I do hope you've enjoyed the show. And there will be another one monthly, pretty much. Well, second last weekend of every month, I'm going to try and do one of these. And there is the supporters hangout tomorrow. For you folks who want to drop on by who are supporters, it's held differently to this. You guys can actually speak. And we're all up together on a Zoom chat, so everyone can see everyone else. Everyone has equal inputs, and we don't always talk about aquaponics. So, yeah, it's a bit of a communal get-together. So if you are a supporter and you want to come along to that, there will be a link down below here, and also too, I will just link in general. If you follow the link and you're not a supporter, it'll take you to a site that explains what being a supporter is all about. And if you want to jump on board, you can do that. Next week's video will be this week's video, but edited with more. Is that it? There we go. My throat is getting sore. Thanks, Bianca. Oh, pretty much we'll leave it there. Do hope you're all well and happy, and your aquaponics are booming, and I'll catch you later. Cheers, folks. Happy growing. I say that far too much. Sorry, what was that? Do we talk about politics?
No.
It depends on the crowd, to tell you the truth. I prefer not to be political online with people I get to know. I will talk about politics as long as it pertains to what's relevant with the discussions. But I found politics and religion are two things. It's, age is old, will get you into more trouble than not, because people get offended really, really easily. They don't want to listen to other people's points of view or beliefs or whatever, and they take everything as a personal attack. So I tend not to do it. Keeps everyone happy, but if I get to know people one-on-one and we're stuck in the hangout afterwards, or there's a group of like-minded people, I'll have a chat. I don't live in a bubble. I accept everyone's opinions, ideas, and beliefs. It's how you learn and evolve as a human being. How most people who want to evolve learn. So yeah, that's pretty much all how I take politics. So I hope you understand that, folks. Anyway, I will leave it there. Enough of me prattling on. Take it easy and have a top one. Speak to you in the chats. Catch ya.